You have reached the Geek Elite. Good luck.
Hey, Mitch!
Hey, Mitch!
Hey, Mitch!
Hey, Mitch.
Hey, Mitch!
Hey, Mitch!
What up, Mitch?
Orderly Mitch.
Hey, Mitch.
Hey, Mitch!
Hey, Mitch.
What up, Mitch? Hey, Mitch. Hey, Mitch.
What up, Mitch?
Hey, Mitch.
Hey, Mitch. Hey, Mitch. Hey, Mitch, you cool, you
Hey, Mitch!
Hey, Mitch. Hey, Mitch. Hey, Mitch.
Hey, Mitch.
Hey, Mitch. Hey, Mitch.
On tonight's episode of Hey Mitch, I am so glad to have our very first international guest. That's right, Mark Plant from the 100 Things We Learned from Film podcast. Hi, Mark. How are you?
Hey, Mitch. Yeah, I'm pretty good. I'm pretty good indeed. Thank you for having me on. It's a bit of an honor. I've listened to a few of your shows, and it's really weird when you see the person, because I can see you, of course, when you see the person whose voice you've heard for so long. You know?
You're right.
Pretty cool.
It's very different. It's not the face that you usually put to it. And I've also been listening to your guys' show, and I mean, it is literally the thing I love about movies is what you guys are doing over there, trivia and all the things that you can figure out or learn from just watching movies. Because what was the thing that they told us as kids, right? You can't learn anything from TV. You got to learn things from books. However, you have proved them wrong.
Yeah, but I guess learning about a 1966 Oldsmobile isn't really the same. We never have. I mean, we have pretty stringent gun laws in the UK. Man, I'm fast becoming a gun nut with this kind of stuff. You know, I'm thinking about building a bunker and going up into the woods and just arming myself to the teeth, Mitch.
Yep. Yeah. That makes complete sense. Actually, I can understand that. So, I mean, where did the idea for the podcast come from? Why 100 things? Why are you doing this? Which I want to say that you guys started in October of last year, right in the middle of the pandemic. So,
yeah.
Like, how did that all come about?
The idea of the podcast comes back, I want to say 2004. So it predates podcasting as it really is today. But one day I sat down with a friend at work. It was a pretty slow day, and we had a bit of email tennis with one another. And I sent Al a message and said, how many things do you think you've learned in the amount of times that you've watched John Boorman's Deliverance? And we had what would now, in the workplace, probably end up with a big HR meeting, a conversation via email over a day.
Yeah.
And I think we came up with maybe 60 odd things between the two of us. But it wasn't enough. By that point, we decided we could probably get to 100. So we invited a few other people into the email chain, and a few more people, and a few more people, a couple of other departments. But by the end of 2 or 3 days, I think we'd come up with 90 odd things and probably about 1,000 repeats. You know, every time somebody came in, it's don't go in the woods, don't go rafting in the south. You know, okay, yeah, that's fine. Don't trust albinos. Sorry, albino listeners, but you know that kind of thing. And it was something that I said, well, we could do this. We could do a director's commentary with this, and we didn't. And I moved jobs and house and all those kind of pieces, and it never came to anything. And during a lockdown Zoom quiz, funnily enough, about this time last year, in the UK we were seriously locked down for a couple of months at the start of the year. So John and Kirsty and my wife got together with some other friends, and we did a Zoom quiz, and I'd mentioned that this was an idea of something I'd like to do. And it took us until probably the summer to even talk to one another about it. And then in October, we had to go with The Crow, which is a film I hadn't seen since I was a teenager. And it really, we're not doing it for listens, although I do click that kind of refresh button on the listens page a few times a day. I think we all do. If you're a podcaster out there, you know that feeling. And Yeah, that's a great feeling. If anybody that listens to our show is listening to this, don't stop listening. That'd be crazy. That'd be absolute madness. But it's a way for John and I to have a good long conversation once a week. And although lockdowns are ending, and hopefully I'll get to see John and hug his beautiful face very, very soon for the first time since August of last year. It's just something we do, and the fact that we get a podcast out of it, that's the bonus.
Yeah, it's definitely been that way for me and my friends. Being able to keep in contact, have a conversation, a structured conversation, in a time when we don't get to see each other anymore. So. I completely understand that, and what a better way to do it than through a podcast. Now, you and I, our podcasts were already following each other. We happened to post a tweet, a story about how the Walmart here in the States was going to be selling alien Easter eggs, like xenomorph Easter eggs. And you all retweeted or quote tweeted saying, "Hey, who in the States is going to send us one of these?" So I took it upon myself. I was like, you know what? I want to do that. I want to reach out, and you now have your own xenomorph Easter eggs, and I appreciate this.
Yeah, these guys are cute. I'm so grateful. I mean, they managed to go missing somewhere in the UK, and even your tracking information didn't help.
Yeah.
And it turned out it wasn't. The lady when I finally tracked them down said, "Oh, there's a problem with the address. The address was wrong." I looked at the address, and you'd got the address exactly as I typed it, but they'd put it in their system with a completely different postcode.
Oh, wow.
Which is our zip code. So the guy couldn't deliver it, and because he couldn't deliver it, instead of looking up to see where that building was, he just took it back to and it was probably a few days away from being binned.
Oh, wow.
Being put in the garbage. So, yeah, I'm really, really glad I went jaunting around the northeast of England to look for it.
Right in the middle of a pandemic.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. But I work on the road, listeners, so I was well within my rights to do so. But yeah, these things are little cute plastic things, and I'm always trying to not do one-time usable plastic things. But we're keeping these. We love these. They're on the shelf behind me. They're these lovely bright-coloured xenomorphs and face huggers and a chest burster, and they're in these little eggs. They're fantastic. I would assume they're probably not still available at Walmart because it's not Easter. But yeah, when they come out for, I don't know, xenomorphs in a Christmas stocking, get yourself one.
There you go. So. I looking at your list of podcasts, you haven't done Alien or Aliens yet.
Yeah. Now, here's the thing. John likes to pick movies he really loves and great movies. Okay. We have mostly picked, or I have mostly picked, trash. Okay. I picked recently. Not so recently. I've completely forgotten what I picked. Just give me 1 second.
Darkman.
I did. Yeah, John and I picked Dartmouth together, which is not trash, by the way. That's a great movie. That's a hell of a movie. It's aged exceptionally well. It looks good. It's fun. Okay, Liam Neeson's a racist, but
this is true. But you know what? It is that nice little sweet spot after, Sam Raimi has learned his lessons from his Evil Dead movies and has not yet become Sam Raimi of Spider-Man. So It's right in the middle where he's still doing what he wants to do, but also getting more of a budget. So I enjoy it. Darkman's been one that I've been a fan of for a long time.
Darkman was quite an important movie to me as a teenager because it was one of these ones that I taped off the TV and watched a lot of times, and it is exactly as it says. It's a dark movie. It's noirish, and what we learned specifically was that Sam Raimi wanted to make The Shadow movie, but couldn't get the rights. They wouldn't allow him the rights to make The Shadow movie, so he made this. Arguably, 10 times better than that Shadow movie with Baldwin in it. You know?
Yes. Yeah. I'm guessing that's the reason why they wouldn't let him make a Shadow movie, because they were like, oh, we already got Baldwin in the pocket over here. We're going to make that movie.
Yeah, we know he's going to get really fat really soon, so we're going to get it done now while we can. You know, and look, he's going to be a great comedian in the future, but for now, we're going to have him very serious.
I mean, okay, so let's talk about the movies that you have chosen. Like, you have on there Jurassic Park. You have the new Tom and Jerry movie.
Yeah.
Surprisingly.
Now, look, we wanted to try something. We wanted to try a movie that people could watch the movie as they're probably going to watch the movie because it's new out, rent it, and then give us a listen. Covering the Tom and Jerry movie, I hope a lot of people listened to us and then didn't go away and watch the movie, because it's garbage. It is a dumpster fire on a fiery dumpster barge in a sea of plastic and rotten fish heads. It is awful. It would have made a fantastic 10-minute Tom and Jerry short. Yeah. Okay. It would have been super. Would have been really, really good. Throw in a couple of the human characters, and that would work. It's one in a long list of the ones that I've picked that are absolutely rubbish. See also The Master of Disguise. Why did you pick The Master of Disguise? My wife said to me, because I've never seen it and it gives me an opportunity to watch it.
I'm sorry.
Wow. Wow. I am my own worst enemy.
I mean, I love Dana Carvey, but that is not a good movie.
No, and look, credit where it's due to Dana Carvey. Some of his impressions are exceptional. What he does is very, very good. The Saturday Night Live stuff, although we never really got a lot of it over here, I've seen a lot of clips online. He's George W. Bush is fantastic, but a lot of people reach out and say, we love your terrible Al Pacino to me. And apparently my Al Pacino is better than Dana Carvey's, which I'm going to take that. Hoo-ha! It's better than Dana Carvey's. It's better than his impression.
I love it. Apparently. I love it.
It's the only one I can do.
I mean, have you ever seen Clean Slate or Opportunity Knocks?
No, I haven't seen either.
You need to watch those
his
two.
90s movies.
Those
right?
are his 90s movies. Yeah.
Okay.
So one of them, Clean Slate, is him having the same thing like Drew Barrymore does in 50 First Dates, where he forgets every night what he did the day before, and he's a detective, so he's putting a case together, but he forgets. Okay. Opportunity Knocks is where he's a con man and he breaks into a guy's house and then assumes his identity and then falls in love with a lady. So it's a romantic comedy. But
that first movie sounds great. Sounds like a really good premise.
Give Clean Slate Clean Slate a try.
Clean Slate. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So you and John, how long have you been friends? How long have you has this partnership been going on?
Not very long at all. Very long at all. John is engaged to my best friend Kirsty, and Kirsty and I used to work together and live in the same town for a long time. We're basically partners in crime. We'd be down the pub on a regular basis, watching rubbish. A lot of the stories that we tell on the podcast always seem to involve Kirsty. But I've actually only known John for perhaps 3 years.
Okay.
It's not a long relationship, but Kirsty, who's been on at least one of the podcasts by the time this goes live, introduced us and said John would be perfect for what you want to do. That is right up John's street, and she's right. He's the kind of he cuts through the nonsense with even more nonsense.
I like that. I mean, it's like fighting fire with fire, right? Like just
for
more
sure.
Nonsense.
Yeah, absolutely. Just we're an arsonist podcast over here. Yeah.
As of recording this, you're at 28 episodes. What is the most you've learned from one movie, and what's the most fascinating thing you've learned from a movie?
We learned 116 things from National Lampoon's European Vacation.
I love that episode. That's such a good episode.
It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun to do, and considering that we're both European, and your listeners will be aware of what Brexit is. We don't consider ourselves British. We consider ourselves European. Neither of us voted for Brexit, and we stand by that. We learned more from that than we did any other movie. I've been to London more times than I can count. John's been to Paris. All of these things we should have already known. Do we walk around with our eyes painted on? What?
I mean, I want to say, as an American who has never left the United States, all I know of Europe is from that movie. So I would say I learned quite a bit too.
I recommend you watch Trainspotting.
I have watched Trainspotting. I love Trainspotting.
You a lot about the Scottish people. Let's just say it's not all deep fried Mars bars and heroin, but it is mostly. If John were here to defend himself, he wouldn't. The most astonishing thing I think we've learned is in our Chicken Run episode.
Okay.
Haley, who was our guest on there, she's a writer, self-published writer, and she creates audiobooks as well. She told us that chickens don't actually pee.
Oh, okay.
Chickens do not have the ability to pee. It all comes out as chicken shit.
Okay,
it comes out as
that makes
shit.
sense. Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. So there you go. That is still, John still says to me almost every week, I hope we get a chicken pea. I hope we get it. And it's always kind of, I hope we get one that's as good as that one. Yeah. And we haven't, we haven't in another, I want to say 18 or so episodes. Yeah.
Why was The Crow the first movie? What was that one? Why was that the movie that you wanted to be the inaugural episode?
I said to John, give me a list of movies that you love, and we'll pick one of those. This will be easy. We'll just do movies that we love. And he gave me a list which included The Crow, Beastmaster, which we covered later, Aliens, all the usual Arnold stuff, Commando. And I picked The Crow because I hadn't seen it since I was a teenager on VHS. And I remember hating it, and I didn't know why. Okay. And then and we watched it, and I realized it was and it's probably not the right podcast to say it on, but the fandom specifically around it. And we've all got fandoms, haven't we? Yeah. But it I think over the space of kind of 10, maybe even 15 years afterwards, it was just constantly rammed down your throat, the images and the true love never dies and all this kind of stuff. And that just didn't do it for me. What I didn't realize was that's a great cast of brilliant American character actors. John Polito's in it, and he is chef's kiss. I love John Polito. R.I.P. that guy, because he was a true American great as far as I'm concerned.
I mean, and then I think the controversy around that movie, makes it that much more of a hype than it is. I love the movie, don't get me wrong. Mm-hmm. And there's a bunch of sequels that are just garbage to it. But
I'm sure.
But yeah, I get the idea that it's a little too hyped for than what it should be. But the movie itself is really good. And Ernie Hudson. Yeah. I love Ernie Hudson.
Who doesn't? So I'm laughing because I when I went to buy this, and the plan was to have a whole bookshelf of all these movies, and as it's kind of gone on, and I've picked trash. I don't really want to own all of these, and I don't want to spend money on them. And I'll spend money on them to rent them, but I don't want to spend money on physical copies. But I went to pick this up from. We have a shop in the UK called. It's referred to as SEX, but it's CEX. It used to be called Computer Game Exchange, CEX. And you buy your secondhand DVDs. It's like a thrift kind of exchange place. And I went in and I said, I'd like this, please. And I took up The Crow, but the sticker was placed such that it wasn't The Crow. It was The Crow 2 I'd picked up. Just as the guy was scanning it, I said, "Oh, sorry, I think that's the wrong movie. It was The Crow, but I couldn't find that." He said, "Hang on, I'll just check the system." Yeah, we've got 2 copies. I said, "Oh, right, okay, I'll go and I'll go and get it for you. Don't worry about it." The guy went through, and I was this huge queue of people behind me, and I'm kind of, "Oh my God, this is embarrassing." And he came back and he said, "Yes, that'll be a whole English pound, please. It's all British pound." Okay, fantastic. And he went, "You'll want this one as well, then, won't you?" I said, "Mate, I don't even want number one. Why would I want number two as well?" But you're absolutely right, Mitch. It's not a bad movie. It's got a great cast. It's fun. I think my problem with it was, and the only thing I can relate it to now, is the fandom around Jared Leto's Joker.
Yes.
Jared Leto's Joker has an amazing fandom.
It does.
And I cannot understand why.
I think it's just certain people feeling like they're being seen at this one moment.
Yeah, man, we live in a society. Yeah, there's no doubt about that.
You said the
telling
thing.
me, son.
So what's one of the things you remember that you learned from The Crow?
It was mostly guns. This is where I kind of started learning about guns, but specifically how to put out a chip pan fire.
Okay.
We consider ourselves a public service broadcaster, and you don't throw water onto a chip pan fire. You wet a towel or a tea towel, and you cover it with that, and it goes out. That is probably one of the best takeaways I've had from it. I did secretly know that beforehand. We were taught that at school, which is fantastic. Yes. Well done, English schooling. But it's one of the things that I'm very, very keen to point out. Any opportunity, I'm sure. I mean, I don't know about probably your podcast. Young people don't listen to our podcast. I'll tell you, it's all dad jokes and references to movies from the 70s. So yeah.
So when you're sitting down, you're watching this movie or any movie, and you're what's the criteria for learning something? Like, is it literally just something you didn't know, or how? I mean, because you go out far on the research. You see something that piques your interest, and you're like, well, I want to know. Go further along with that line of thought.
Yeah, for sure. I'm about to watch Dogma again. Our next episode is going to be Dogma. I thought it was about time I picked a movie that wasn't trash. It's about time I picked a movie that I really love.
I'm going to guess Ride Along was yours then.
No, Ride Along was John's.
Really? That was not a good movie.
Well, no, but John mentioned in the Tom and Jerry movie that the director of that movie was the ride-along guy.
Oh, okay.
And I said, it's the barbershop guy. Again, his name escapes me just
Tim
now.
Story.
It's the barbershop guy, Tim Story. Thank you very much. We linked that to the episode before, Toy Story. So we try and link where we can. Ride Along, whilst it's not a great movie, I've realised when these movies are bad, I can still have fun with them.
Oh, yes.
Do you know what? The thing I learned the most from that was, boy, I miss Chris Tucker.
Yes.
Chris Tucker should still be in movies.
Yeah.
Not Kevin Hart. I don't like Kevin Hart. I don't care for his Chris Tucker-like shtick at all. But I like Ice Cube. Who doesn't like Ice Cube? Growing up, that guy was important to me musically.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what we picked. But we picked Dogma. I'm going to sit down and watch it, and I'm going to pick apart as much of the religious iconography as I can. I was christened as a child, so I'm a Protestant Christian, although I'm not at all, even slightly. I haven't been to church since... I think the last time I was at church was a wedding, probably about 10 years ago, 12 years ago, a long, long time ago. So we'll talk a little bit about that, but we're gonna end up talking. It's going to be a fun episode because it's a great movie. But we're going to talk probably, just from what I can remember, we'll talk pro-choice. We'll talk Indiana Jones references. We'll talk about movies in the 80s that I think are better than E.T., as does Matt Damon's character. Time will tell on that one. Time will tell.
Yeah.
So with that's the kind of stuff that I'll do is I'll watch it once and I'll make a kind of a quick note of, I don't know, the church they filmed it at. Number one. Number two, the train heading from wherever it is to heading to wherever it is. So all of this stuff's quite interesting to me because I'm not in the States.
Right.
It's probably a lot less interesting to people in the States who go, I know, I do that train journey every week. But then I'll sit and I'll watch it again and I'll do a full list of notes. So for me, it's probably about 4 to 6 hours from start to finish.
Wow. Including
editing, maybe add a little bit longer on for editing as well. John just shows up. John just turns up because he's pretty. That's all he needs to do. He turns up with a couple of little notes, and he's just John. And you know what? I would not change a thing.
There you go. I mean, that's completely acceptable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, with a Kevin Smith movie, he is a man that loves to talk and loves to talk about himself. So there's a lot of complimentary information out there that you could possibly go and get. Are you planning on doing a lot of that research as well?
Yeah, I think tomorrow I'm going to see how much of the Evening with Kevin Smith DVDs, standard def DVDs, which I've got on the thing behind me. I'm going to see how much of those I can get through as well. I haven't really listened to a lot of his podcasts, but I think he spends a lot of the time stoned.
He does.
I'm led to believe it doesn't always make for great listening. I always listen to my podcast sober, so I record them drunk, but I listen to them sober.
You have to get there. You have to be there for his companion, his partner in the podcast. Like, they're the ones that are usually keeping everything on track. I'm a big fan of Fat Man Beyond, one of his podcasts. Mark Bernardin, I think, is a very intelligent, incredible creator. So I love listening to that one. I'm a big fan of Kevin Smith too, but yes, it's a lot of him being very absent-minded or watching the chat as it goes by and responding to them. And it's just oh, come on, interact with your partner.
You and I are of a similar age, Mitch. Did you see Clerks at a very impressionable age?
I did. And I have a very funny story about that. I saw Clerks. I stayed home from school one day because I was not feeling well. So I was just laying on the couch being sick, and my mother had gone to the grocery store to get whatever she needed, but at that time in the 90s, grocery stores also had video rental places inside. Mm-hmm. So she just went to whatever was new on the thing, grabbed Clerks, and brought it home for me. So this was my introduction to Kevin Smith. My mother grabbing a copy of Clerks for me to listen to or to watch.
Oh, Mom.
Yeah. No, I mean, she had absolutely no idea what it was. She just knew it was a new movie and that I like movies, so she just grabbed it for me to watch. I mean, obviously it's all in black and white, and this is, one of my first movies of watching black and white. And at the end, there was a scene where a guy dies in the bathroom and a woman has sex with his dead body. And I'm pretty sure she didn't know that was going to be in there.
No. I've got a very similar story, actually. I was at college. It would have been probably a year or so before. So, in fact, no, I'm maybe just doing my exams at school. So 96, 97. I came home from school, college, wherever I was at the time. And my stepmom said to me, Sarah, who was my stepsister, she was well renowned for skiving off school, for just not going to school because she just didn't want it. Okay, fine. That's great. Okay, she was always ill. And she was allowed to go and rent a movie. And my stepmom said, me and your dad are going to sit down and watch this movie. Sarah watched it. She said it's absolutely brilliant. Now, Sarah would have been 14, 15 at the time. It's absolutely brilliant. Let's sit down and watch it. It's a British movie. Brilliant, fantastic. Let's do it. And we sat down, me, my stepmom, and my dad, and watched Trainspotting together.
Wow.
And do you know what? They absolutely loved it. My dad, who sadly we lost at the start of the year, absolutely loved it. And the one thing I will give my dad credit for is he was always pretty cool. My old man, he was always pretty cool. And okay, there was a sex scene, and okay, there was drug use, and okay, there was all that. But as long as I didn't look them in the eye for another 3 days after that, I have always got the story to tell that my parents showed me Trainspotting.
Yeah, I like that. That's a good. Yeah, that's a good story.
They're good. They're good uns.
So then, has it always been movies for you? Has that always been a thing for you?
Oh, yeah, mostly. Yeah, as a kid, I think that the first things I remember truly loving were my first hero was Darth Vader.
Oh,
Darth Vader was cool and just scary and fantastic, and he lived in this colorful world that nobody else. I grew up during the miners' strike in Britain. The people were being underpaid for working down the mines. My father, both grandfathers, and a number of my uncles all worked down the pits. And so we didn't have a lot. And one of the things that I had and absolutely cherished for either my 4th or 5th birthday was a Darth Vader jigsaw, which is, sorry, listeners, younger listeners, yeah, a jigsaw puzzle.
Oh,
Absolutely.
jigsaw puzzle.
Yeah, sorry, you guys call it a puzzle. Of course, you guys call it a puzzle. So, yeah, so I had this puzzle. Hey, young Mark, do you want to play a game? Not that jigsaw. That would be that would be very different. There I was upstairs in a bear trap contraption as a small child. We know you like Darth Vader. How about wearing this on your head for a week? Tick, tick, tick. Yeah. So I had this puzzle, and I was a little bit obsessed with it. And then something changed one day. Something changed, and I had a lot of Star Wars toys. Had a lot of Star Wars figures, and I've still got 2, 3, 4 on my shelf there. And I have. I'll show you afterwards, Mitch. I have a Return of the Jedi speeder bike still in its box, which was a second that my gran bought me while she was on holiday. And my mum said, don't take it out of its box because you'll want that when you're older. And it has never been opened.
Wow.
It's yeah. So I'm looking at that now and I feel a little bit nostalgic. But one day, I must have seen it on the TV or whatever. All of a sudden, the Transformers came into my life. And I was obsessed. Optimus Prime, Bumblebee, Sea Spray, all of these guys, Power Glide, all of these guys I loved. Then I realized how cool the Decepticons were. What is it with me and a bad boy? I don't know.
Who doesn't like a good bad boy?
Correct, yeah. And then my mum took me to the cinema to see Transformers the movie. You know, you got the touch.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. And I was inconsolable for the rest of the day. I was just when she left the cinema with me at the end of the movie, people were staring. She still tells this story. People were staring and people thought she'd been beating me because I was just wailing and screaming because my hero, Optimus Prime, had died, in spite of the fact that they'd thrown on the end of that movie, Optimus Prime will return.
Yeah.
That didn't matter to 6-year-old me.
Nope.
It was inconsolable. I didn't want to go back to the cinema for months after, apparently.
Did you? So things you learned from a film. One of the things I learned from that is I don't know if you know it, but later that summer when they released the G.I. Joe the movie, Hasbro did. Duke was also supposed to die in that movie, but because there was such a backlash from Optimus Prime dying in Transformers, they added on that extra animated scene of him like being okay in the hospital bed.
The more you know.
Yeah.
I mean, literally with G.I. Joe. Wow, I didn't know that, Mitch. That's so cool.
Yeah. So they just...
That is cool.
The big plan for them was, we're going to kill off Optimus and we're going to kill off Duke. And they're like, wait, no, it's not a good idea.
The only time that life mirrors itself a lot, doesn't it? But I remember being utterly inconsolable leaving the cinema when I saw that first Michael Bay Transformers movie. But that was for a very, very different reason indeed. I felt like he had... There's a bit in The Simpsons, which is my other major fandom. There's a bit in The Simpsons where Bart has a dream that the girl that he likes puts her fist into his chest, grabs his heart, and goes, "And you won't be needing this."
That's
throws
right.
it across the treehouse and it goes into the thing. That's how I felt. My girlfriend at the time said, Oh, I didn't think it was that bad. And I didn't talk to her for about an hour and a half. The ride home was a nightmare. I said, you don't understand. I said, you couldn't understand. I said to her, it's like me taking all of your Prince CDs and melting them down. She went, oh, I don't think it's that bad. So I can assure you it is.
Oh man, I love that. I love the comparison there. So your love of movies has turned into a podcast, but has it turned into anything else? Have you ever gone down that venture of, wanting to write a movie, wanting to write a TV series? When I left school and went to college, not university college as the American listeners would know it, but I guess you would call it community college is the kind of level, is I did a media and filmmaking course. So I made a few little movies and a few bits and pieces. I've written a couple of treatments and a couple of semi-scripts and that kind of thing. But I'm good with ideas. Beyond that, the podcast is the first real kind of thing I've managed to bring to fruition. But I'm only 41. I've got plenty of time to do. And let's be fair, a lot of the best writers came up with all their stuff, when they were when they were much older. Oh yeah, Stan Lee didn't start till like 40 something too. For sure, and then carried on until he was 700 years old, which is great. He basically, he came up with a lot of great ideas. He also managed to locate a lot of ideas that he maybe didn't come up with. I mean, yes. But the less said about that, let's just say those stories aren't in his autobiography, Excelsior. Yeah. You've read that. Yeah, I haven't read it. He has got, I think it's from the late 90s, but yeah. Oh, he came up with every single idea. Yeah, and he has got something specific to say about every idea. There's, I was walking down the street one day and I saw this, and I saw these four guys, and I thought, these guys look pretty fantastic. And that was a fantastic four. I have no idea why he's Barnum. I don't really know what's going on with my accent there, but I mean, that's fair. I all of our guys sound like that create things. I mean, it makes sense. Sure. So yeah, I'm working on it. I've a little bit of an idea for a further spin-off podcast involving all the cultural references that I've learned from The Simpsons. But I'm not quite there with that yet. Not quite there with that. So, The Simpsons being one of your fandoms, I assume you're still watching. Very rarely. Same. I will pick it up from time to time and go, no, Mark, you love this thing. You've got to watch it. You've got to give it a go. You've got to watch it. And I'm kind of like, oh my God, what? What the hell's a sadgasm? What? And okay, I know that's a 15-year-old reference now. I get that, but I couldn't think of anything past that. Yeah, a lot of people live in this kind of, I think, series 1 to 10 bubble. And as I said to friend Tom, who's a fan, he kind of goes up to 11. Good Spinal Tap reference. But I will go that little bit further and say maybe even as far as 15. I've giggled at a few bits and pieces. I even laughed at a couple of bits of the Simpsons movie. Mm-hmm. I just wish it had happened 10, 15 years prior. Yeah. No, that would have been the best. Yeah, I mean, I've always been a big fan of the show. I think I consistently watched up until I want to say 2021 season. Me too. Yeah, so did I. Yeah, I couldn't name you any of those episodes. No, not at all. I think Mo got a cell phone, right? I'm sure of it. Marriage, wedding after wedding after wedding. Oh no, hang on, that was the same clip show. That was that clip show in series 12. But yeah, that's it's interesting to see other people that are still fans. With the fact that it seems like a lot of the movies that you're watching are traditional Hollywood American movies, like, are you finding more things that are interesting to you that just happen to be American, or like how they depict things in the UK? Like, how are you okay with the Angelina Jolie's British accent in Lara Croft?
Yeah, absolutely, I am. There's a couple of schools of thought, and that's the old line that you hear in all of these kind of war movies. There's the old stuffed collared kind of British kind of old guy. He says, Americans, they're over here, they're oversexed, they're overpaid, and they're over here. That kind of thing. And I get that, but let's be entirely fair. All of these guys working in America at the moment, they're getting the awards, they're getting the noms, they're getting all this kind of stuff. They're all British. Daniel Kaluuya won. He's British, and I'm so pleased. We had and this is going back a little bit now. We finally got a black stormtrooper. I was delighted we got a black stormtrooper. And, a lot of people say to me, God, the hills that you die on, Mark. But yeah, great. And he's British,
Yep.
So I don't mind. But there's a lot of this stuff that I already know in the UK. We've covered a couple of British films. We've covered Hot Fuzz. And it's one of my tiny regrets for the podcast is that we covered Hot Fuzz as quickly as we did, because I think what I've learned from learning about film, if we covered Hot Fuzz today, that's a 150.
Yeah.
I think at the time it was our second podcast, and I think it was maybe a 70, a 60 or a 70. That's a 150 now, and there's no doubt. And I think being new to it and being inexperienced and being a little bit nervous and not wanting the episode to run too long and not really knowing how to cut things down in the edit. Yeah, I really wish we'd left that for a later episode, because we'd have another more than 100. Not that we really care when we don't get 100, but it's great when we do.
Right. So
did that answer the question, Mitch? Actually,
yes.
Yeah, I'm very good at derailing conversation, as you're learning right now.
I mean, have you ever traveled to the States before?
No, and recently we found ourselves, Rachel and I, in a financial situation where we can. We paid off a few loans and a few bits and pieces. The closest I've ever been is Cuba. We went to Cuba on our honeymoon, but God forbid we should mention the US and Cuba in the same breath.
Don't do that.
Otherwise, I'm gonna. The whole problem is, I mean, I've got a new passport now, but all they would need to do is look in the back of the passport as I get to America and go, hang on, there's a stamp for Cuba in here. Hey, this guy's a commie. Hey, commie, get out. Like, come on, But we. And I'm sorry to get political, but it's what I do. We decided that we would not come to America whilst the big orange idiot king was in charge.
You're better off. You're better off not doing that.
Absolutely. But now things are looking... I mean, look, things look a lot better now. You guys are in the middle of a pandemic and things still look better. Imagine that.
Yeah.
But no, we have... All of our cultural references, and this sounds really ignorant. You're ignorant, man. This sounds really, really ignorant, and I'm sorry if it does, listeners, but our cultural references for America are based upon film, TV, and food, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's no secret I'm a big fat man. Okay, so I want I want the hoagies, I want the foot long subs,
Yes.
I want all that, I want all that kind of stuff. I want soul foods, I want to be So we have got a list of places to go, from LA to New York to to New Mexico, for goodness sake. We even talked about your hometown, Tucson, Arizona.
Yuma.
The Death Wish episode.
Oh,
you're in Yuma. Sorry, I thought you were in Tucson.
No, we're in
My
Yuma. But that's
apologies.
okay.
Of course you're in Yuma. Of course. That's another film for us to cover.
There you go.
About that. We'll talk about that. But yes, we talked about somewhere in Arizona. I mean, come on. These places aren't that big, right? Oh, yeah. Hang on. Hang on a minute. Oh, dear.
Go to Las Vegas. There you get all the different regions of America in one place.
Yeah, but we won't, will we? We'll get America Light.
Yes, you will.
You know, which is as tasty as Bud Light, and Miller Draft Light. You know, we don't want that.
You get to see the fake pyramid, the fake Statue of Liberty, the fake Eiffel Tower, all in the same place.
Yeah, but hang on a second. Have they moved the real Eiffel Tower and the real pyramids to America? So what you're going to tell me,
not yet.
like London Bridge,
Yep.
which
is
that's
not that
also
far
Arizona,
from me.
right?
Yep, that's not that far
so
from
we've
me.
covered 2 movies that talk about Arizona. We covered Falling Down as well.
Yep.
So we're covering that. So what they've done is they've taken those landmarks and they've moved them from Europe, and that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. Move them all to the same country, because they're still probably further apart than they actually are in Europe and Northern Africa anyway, with the size of the place. But yeah, we want to. We want to meet real Americans. Maybe not all real Americans.
Yeah.
But we want to. We don't want to meet hill folk.
Yeah. You want to stay away from those people in Deliverance that you talked about.
Tucker and Dale. You know, we don't. Another previous episode.
That's a great movie. I love that movie.
It's a fantastic movie. It's a great movie. But what we love the idea of coming to the States. We think the vast majority of American people I've met, of US citizens I've met, fantastic. Don't get me wrong, I've been on holiday to a few places, and it's kind of like, hey, honey, over here. Kind of, my goodness, how did you get a passport? How did you out? Hang on a second. So you're the Smith party. Is she your wife or is she your sister? Oh, she's both. Right, okay.
Yes.
Nice one. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Hey, honey, look at this fat English guy. He's even fatter than we are. Yeah. No, look, we know it's not all that, and we will visit, and we will culture it up. 100%.
I think you'll be bringing all the culture. Don't worry.
Well, look, I like to make the point that a lot of people say, well, in Britain, very much like, or certainly in England, very much like in America, there's a north-south divide.
Mm-hmm.
But we have. But what about those places that aren't in the north? What about those places that aren't in the south? What about the middle? I'm from the middle in Britain. I'm from a place called Nottingham. Mm-hmm. Which you will know from
Robin Hood,
yeah, absolutely.
Do you guys still have a sheriff?
Yeah, no, thankfully he was battered to death. But we have still got a castle.
Oh.
We have still got a castle and caves underneath the castle, which were used for hiding booze for many years. And we have the oldest pub in Britain, which is called Ye Old Trip to Jerusalem, which is built into the cave walls below the castle. And you can actually go into the pub, and if you go upstairs, you can go and sit in the cavey bit. It's super. It's really good. It's fantastic.
Now I've learned something. I love this.
Yeah. And we've got a fantastic statue of Robin Hood. And a lot of people say, yeah, but Robin Hood wasn't real. And I say, fuck you. You know, I'm a socialist. I believe you take from the 1%, give to the poor, and then lynch the 1% as well if you want.
There you go. I'm all for it.
Yeah, it's all good. Yeah, let's do it.
My fiance and I we're getting married later this year. Our honeymoon was our honeymoon was supposed to be in Scotland, but we're not. It doesn't look like we're going to be able to go. Like, we don't know if they're going to let Americans in or not.
You realize that John is in Glasgow and I am 8 miles south of the Scottish border. If you come across, we have to meet. That has to happen.
I'm all for it. I love this idea.
That has to happen. We will come to wherever you are in Scotland. Where were you going? Edinburgh?
You know, that's all her. She's the one making those plans.
Okay, we'll talk.
I think we're supposed to go to Glasgow and Edinburgh.
Yeah. We'll do that. I lived in Edinburgh for 2 years. I was inspired by all the drugs and the deep fried food. I moved to Edinburgh only to find it had been gentrified by the time I got there and full of English people. Christ. Scotland is as an Englishman, as an ashamed Englishman, I am proudly plastic Scottish. So yeah, we will. If that happens, we'll pull out all the stops and we'll come to you, even if it's just for a couple of hours. I'll drive 4 hours to get to you, man. That'll be cool.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that a lot. Like I said, hopefully you'll be letting Americans come in then.
Yeah, well, look, you guys are all right. You know, I think it's we let anybody in at the moment, as long as they're not French. I think by the time this goes out, we might have gone to war with the French over fishing. Would you believe something quite as silly and trivial as fishing? Oh, they're fishing in our waters. I think you'll find we have had agreement for many years to fish in your waters. No, you must bring us tea. Bring us tea, or there'll be no fishing. I'll have you know. You smelly roast beefs.
Yeah.
Indeed.
What's the one fandom that you have that you wouldn't think anybody else would expect? What's the thing you geek out about that no one else would expect?
Wow, I'm actually having to look at the wall of craziness, and it's all Star Wars and Simpsons and all sorts of nonsense. I think because I'm so obsessed with movies and comic books and all that kind of thing, I think people would be amazed to know that I've got a football or a soccer fandom. I love sport.
Nice.
And it's one thing that you wouldn't think. And I like to think I've got a team in every sport almost, but I'm a big soccer fan. I'm wearing my Nottingham Forest tracksuit right now, and underneath a Nottingham Forest jersey as well. So we just finished our season today, which was admirably, I think, 17th out of 24 teams. Yay, go us! But I'll watch pretty much anything, and we've picked up a couple of teams throughout watching movies, including a baseball team called the Rail Riders.
Oh.
Who, forgive me, I can't quite remember where they are. Your listeners are screaming right now and going, they're a Yankees feeder team. Why do you like a Yankees feeder team? Because to my mind, the Yankees are the team everybody hates, right?
Right.
But we picked them because we liked the name. There was also another team called the Rubber Ducks, which I quite liked the name of. But we'd already picked the Rail Riders by then, so we couldn't do that. But I watching football in the UK as a child, maybe the age of 8, 9 years old, it's not the pristine pitches and the beautiful kind of passing game that you see now with all the European and South American influence and all that. It was what we call in this country cloggers, basically guys that kick other guys up and down the field, and it was mud, ploughed fields, stands that were unsafe, and all that kind of thing. And I'm a big Nottingham Forest fan, as has always been in my family. But Channel 4, our Channel 4, back in the day we only had 4 channels. Our Channel 4 showed American football for the first time. And I think I must have maybe caught it by fluke at maybe 8 or 9. I maybe was up when I shouldn't have been up. And I turned the TV on after my mum had gone to bed. And there was this guy, and he was chiseled, and he could throw for what seemed like miles. And he was in this beautiful coloured shirt, and the cheering and the big guys and the dancing and everything. And that was the point I realised the most wonderful, pristine human being on the planet was Dan Marino. Yeah. Dan Marino was the exact opposite of what I watched every other week with my dad. When I used to go to football with my dad. Dan Marino was a superstar. Yeah. An absolute superstar. And I am I'm a Dolphins fan. I'm a Dolphins fan. God, my God, that is an awful existence to have.
I mean, that's a hard fandom to have. Yeah, that's a hard one.
I can assure you that is winning nothing my entire life. In fact, I could be twice the age I am. Still won nothing. 1966, right? 1966 was their year. I think it was 69 was their formation year. Nothing. One championship. Nothing else.
I mean,
we were going to talk about covering Ace Ventura: Pet Detective, but I don't really want to talk about some of the things that are involved, some of the themes that are involved in that.
Yep.
So
That's understandable.
Probably won't. We like to think we're a little bit understanding, and we will call that shit out.
Yeah.
We called a lot out on the Condemned recently. There's a lot of the use of the R word. 2007. It's only what 15 years ago.
Yep.
That's too soon. That is too recent to be using the R word.
Yeah. No.
So yeah, I'm not cool. I'm not cool with that. So I don't think we'll be covering that. But Bad Boys 2. Dan Marino's in Bad Boys 2. We might get to that.
I mean, yeah, he's got that little part.
Yeah. He's selling cars. But yeah, that guy is that guy's a little bit of a hero to me. Take away nothing from soccer, from football. I love that, but there's just something that just got me with that. But I love every sport. No idea what the fuck baseball's about, but I like cricket. So,
Yeah.
I'm trying with baseball, but it's just rounders, guys.
Oh, I love it. Okay, last question of the night. It's a question I ask of everybody. If you could have one completely useless superpower, and it has to be useless, what would it be? Now, I usually throw out there an example. My example is that I could instantly grow my hair exactly 1 inch, but only an inch at any given moment. That's it. It's useless. You can't do anything with 1 inch of hair. Yeah.
Well, no, I think you probably could. You could really piss your barber off, right?
Yeah. You could pull pranks. That's fair.
Yeah, that guy would be pretty pissed off with you. So how many times I'm going to get dumped down on this now, but how many times can you do that?
I mean if we had to go into it, I would say like once a day.
Oh, right. Okay. That's not so fun. I'm bald though, so that would kind of work.
What I mean, It's not going to make it grow from where it's not at. It's good. You're just going to have it really long on the sides.
Yeah. Okay. Well, and this is utterly useless, which it really is I can create out of nowhere and throw somebody a life preserver, a lifesaver, not the sweeties, but a life preserver, and save them, but only if they are on dry land. If they're in danger and they're drowning, I'm afraid, sorry guys, I can't get it up. But if you're on dry land, I can do it. Yeah. I'm kind of like the invisible kid in Mystery Men.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm invisible as long as you're not looking. I can throw you this life preserver as long as you're not drowning.
Yeah. I mean, if you could throw enough of them, maybe they can climb out of a hole or something. I don't know.
Oh, no, just one.
Just the one?
Just one. Yeah, just the one. They could. In fact, that could probably cause a lot more harm than it would save people. Yeah. My God, that's useless. You're right, man.
I love it. Favorite movie?
It's a Wonderful Life.
Okay, that's interesting.
It's a Wonderful Life is the movie I have seen almost as many as any other. It is only watched at Christmas, but I probably cry from minute 6. I think it is. I did check this out at Christmas last year when I did a live tweet of it. Look up hashtag It's a Wonderful Life on Twitter. I think you might find, I don't think a lot of people do that. You might find my live tweets from last year. It was depressing. I'd had a lot of mulled wine. It's a Wonderful Life. I cry almost consistently. Sadness, joy, sadness. Oh, deep sadness, joy. Yeah. And it goes on like this. Yeah.
And you know the story behind that one? About how it was a complete flop when it first came out. Yeah, syndication
got that right.
Simply, NBC had absolutely nothing else to play, and they're like, "Well, this is public domain. Let's just throw this on the air." And they played it so much that people loved it. Like, just ended up loving it. I love that. Favorite actor or actress?
I used to have a theory. Myself and my good friend Ian McComish had a theory. This would probably be about 10 years ago now, maybe slightly longer ago, that Al Pacino had never made a bad movie,
Or
Al Pacino had never been bad in a movie, even when, or I can't quite remember, but yeah. He has dropped off a fucking cliff, hasn't he? But wow, that guy was. The guy was exceptional. The guy was absolutely everything, wasn't he? But if I was to probably pick, somebody British, I'd have to say Simon Pegg. I have got a real soft spot for Simon Pegg. I love him. I love Spaced, which is another
great.
kind of love affair with Fandom.
Yeah,
and I think almost everything he's been in has been great. And he's one of us, isn't he? You know, he's like us. He's just a working class guy, and he's a geek himself.
Did you check out Truth Seekers? Him and Nick Frost?
Yes, yeah, we did, and they're not renewing it, which is a real shame because it was fun.
Yeah, it was
fun. Nick Frost. Nick Frost is great as well. A lot of people say to me, "Who would play you in the movie of your life?" He's fat. He's got a beard. He'll do. That'll do. Why
not? Favorite director?
Edgar Wright. Absolutely, Edgar Wright. I'm sorry to stick with the same wheelhouse, but the guy's not made a bad movie. I am desperate still to see his Ant-Man, and it's never going to happen. We're never going to see.
But I would have liked to see it too. Yeah,
Ant-Man. But I think if you look at what Baby Driver is, you could probably kind of glean a little bit out of that for style-wise, at least.
Yes.
Style-wise, and I would love to think. I mean, him and Joe Cornish, I think, were paid a lot of money to never say anything, to not say a single word.
Yep.
The NDAs that Disney get you to sign must be absolutely ironclad, and that he will come out and tell us one day when he's old.
Yep.
but we're gonna have to wait for that, Mitch. It's not going to be just yet.
I'm super excited about One Night in Soho. I don't know about yourself.
So am I, and we were due it, I think, last month, but I think it's now going to be October.
Yeah,
and I think that's just really based around cinema releases.
Yeah.
He's such a stylish director, isn't he?
Isn't he? Like that scene in Baby Driver.
Guy.
Oh yes. But the scene in Baby Driver when he's dancing and walking down the street and everything is happening right around him, it's just like that is such a brilliant scene.
Yeah. We've all done it though, haven't we?
Yeah.
We've all, or at least that's a much more stylized version of what we've done. All that stuff happening around him isn't really happening around us, and we don't have those moves.
No.
No.
This has been amazing. Thank you for coming on and talking to me. Like it's been such a great conversation.
You've allowed me just to talk about stuff I love, and that's I honestly, listeners, I'm not paying him for this, but I feel like I should be. This is like geek therapy. I mean, put that on the poster. We don't have posters, but put that on the poster. That's the tagline.
That's the tagline. I like that.
Yeah.
Where is it that people can find you in your podcast?
Oh, well, you can find us. Just search on all the places that you get the podcasts. We are 100 Things You Learned from Film. You'll find us on Twitter at 100 Things Pod. That's probably where we're most active. We're also on Instagram at 100 Things Film, as well as Facebook, 100 Things Film. We would love just for you to listen to one episode. Find something from there that you think you'd like to learn about. Find something from there you think you'd like to listen to two British lads. Just have a bit of as John would say in Scotland, a bit of a blather about. So we'll just have a bit of a blather. We'll chat some shit, and we'll see if we can learn a few things. That'd be good. So please do. We like to follow back. We like to get involved. We like you to tell us what you learned from film. I know this sounds really silly and counterproductive, but I love it when people pick us up on things that we got wrong or fixed, especially considering that the list of things that we missed on Demolition Man, when we finished on 93 things, I would currently be on 106 things.
Wow.
Because of all the things I missed.
you're going to be your appointment podcast for me now. I'm going to make sure I'm listening the day it drops. So
That's so
I can,
kind.
yeah, I love that. So, if you want to talk to me about movies, you can find me on Twitter. I am at Mitchipedia GEM. GEM stands for Geek Elite Media. The rest of Geek Elite Media is at Geek Elite Media on Twitter, at Geek Elite Media on Instagram, and Facebook.com/Geek Elite Media is our Facebook page. Check out archived episodes of this podcast and other podcasts on our network on our website, geekelitemedia.com. And whatever podcatcher you use to listen to us, please rate and review us. It helps spread the word of our network. But until next time, this is Hey Mitch on the Geek Elite Media Network saying, always remember to geek out.
This concludes our broadcast. Beep.